So what did we learn so far in this against Kaddish? It's going to get that tzedakah. But he mentions the idea of Vayas David Shem, and to explain it, he goes into the whole thing about words. He says words have two parts. The idea of the words and the words themselves, right? The idea of the words is a trickle down from Chochmah into Bina, because only a small part of the possibility of the idea comes on into the realm of understanding. And the words themselves come from Chochmah. And he says, what does it mean the words themselves come from Chochmah? He says, look at Isis. He says, we have 5 meitzos, 5 sources of sound, and yet they produce not 5 letters, but 22 letters. And the physical act that we do in our throat and our palate and our tongue and our lips and our teeth is identical in each one of the letters, yet all of the letters from the same meitzah come out as we desire, as if whether a bass comes out or a fey comes out, even though this is using the lips and this is using the lips, is coming from something which is higher than the physical. So he says this is coming from Chochmah. Okay, so far we've got 2 things. Ideas are trickled from Chochmah into Bina, letters are from Chochmah. Now the Alter Rebbe says, there's a third point. However, letters have a neshama and a guf. Have a chomer and a guf and a neshama. Hanikra pnimis v'chetenis, which is called the inner and outer dimension of letters. Even though we discussed yesterday that the source of letters, of the sounds, is from higher than seichel, from the ratz nefesh, in other words, it comes from chochmah, from keser. As we mentioned before, that the different sounds seem to come directly from the nefesh. Says the Rebbe zoi bechinas tzuras shinei hamifta shebechav bezeisius. That's only in as much as the different sounds are concerned and the different enunciations. Ava bechinas hachoymer v'guf esavusan. But the material and the body that allows for the creation of a letter. V'hu, and what is the body of a letter? Bechinas chitzeni yusan, the outside of the letter. Hu hahevel, it's the air. Hayetim alev, which comes of course from the heart and from the lungs. Shemimenu mishava keil, poshit, which creates the possibility for amplification. And as far as the air, the hevel itself is concerned, it's keil poshit, it's a plain sound. Hayetim akar, which comes from the throat. Like the letter hey is, it's pure air. And then when you qualify that sound by a aleph, by a by a b, by a v, there's a combination. The tsura is the individual sound, and the air that's blowing against the vocal cords, or the 5 meitzos, is the guf of the os, what makes it audible, makes it loud. And then it divides up into 22 different sounds, and the expression of the 22 letters connected to the 5 sources of sound: the throat, and the palate, the lips, the teeth, and the tongue. Right? The letters al, ches, and hey, and ayin come from the throat. Gimel, yud, chof, and kuf come from mechech, from the palate, v'choli, and so forth. Umifta hahevel, and the sound of air, which is the body of letters, who eis hey is the letter hey itself. That is also klila v'chuli. It's not much of a sound, right? The aleph, beis, gimel, these are sounds. Is really just pure air. So when as much as it's producing a sound, it's a light sound. But on the other hand, it's the source of the material. V'gufa eisius, in the body of the letters. Terem in chalkus l'chav beis, before it's breaking up into 22. Okay, v'lachein, as you'll see later on, this is the reason why Amar Razal, the Chazal tell us, she'elam hazeh nivra behei, this word is created with the letter hey. What he's doing is as follows. When a person speaks ideas, there's 2 parts. There's a neshama and a guf. There's the ideas and then there's the words. The ideas would be the neshama, the words would be the guf. Now we're dividing up the words themselves into a neshama and a guf. The neshama would be the individual sounds, and the guf would be the amplifying air that's blown from the lungs or from the heart against the different tools that produce different sounds to be able to create audible, individual, distinct sounds. So, we would say this. The seichel, which is like the neshama b'chlal, comes from Bina. The neshama of the guf of Isis comes from Chochmah. And the guf of Isis comes from Hey, which is Malchus. So although the Ruchnius of Isis has a very high source, the Gashmius, the guf of Isis, has a very, very low source. And I must tell you that that's only in Hishtalshalus. In Atzmos, everything is upside down. So actually the guf of the Isis is the highest Chedish. But the way it comes down in Hishtalshalus, the sound of the letters comes from the letter Chochmah, which is Yud. The idea of the Seichel comes from Bina, which is the first Hey. And the air, the amplifying force, within the sounds is coming from the lower hay, which is Malchus. And that's the Pshat. You'll see later on what he means, but this is the Pshat that this world is created with the letter hay. Stop. Okay? Now, just to be comprehensive, according to Hasidus, ideas come from the Nefesh, and words come from the Nefesh. And the Sheiresh of words is higher than the ideas. Ideas comes from the Keich HaSeichel Sheba Nefesh, and the words come from the Etzem of the Nefesh. That's number one. So therefore it actually is that the words bring down the Seichel rather than the Seichel bringing down the idea. That's number one. Number two, words have several parts. The first is the sounds themselves, the oisios themselves. The oisios themselves, according to Kabbalah and Chassidus, are rooted in Atzmos Mamish, in the Eibishter himself, in the Etzem and Neshama Mamish. Then there is the Koyach Hatziruf, the ability to put different sounds together and make words, and put different words together and make sentences, and different sentences together and make paragraphs. And the key component of speech is not only the ability to put different sounds together and make words, but to mix and match, to constantly create new patterns of communication. Koyach Hatziruf comes from Chokhmah. Okay? So as it turns out, there's a lot of parts to speech. The goof of the Eis is a Musha Shenatzmas. The Tzuras Eis is Mushmash and Chokhmah. The Koyach Hatziruf of Eis, the ability to put the different sounds together to make words, comes from Chokhmah. The Gili of the goof of Eis, the manifestation of the body of the letters, is from the lower hay, which is Malchus. Seichel comes also from Bina and from Chokhmah and from Keser, but the light of Seichel is never mushrish as high as the Eisis themselves. Eisis are mushrish and Atzmos.